Hey everyone, this is SnatchGaming. I'm Mike, and I've got a stack of Sega games here, and the one thing that made buying a Sega game at retail special in the 8 and 16-bit eras was that you'd get a promotional poster inside, which was a big poster that on one side had a bunch of different games that were available for the system at the time. With no Nintendo Power or anything like that, Sega had to do some creative things to get the word out there, and these promotional posters were basically what everyone used when they were a kid to determine what game they'd want for their birthday or Christmas or good report card or what have you. So I wanted to take a look at some and just show you, because there's a lot of nostalgia involved for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people too. So let's check them out. There's a lot of different ones, so we'll get right to it. Now we're going to kind of go in chronological order here, more or less, starting with the Master System. This poster I'm going to show you here is from my copy of Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap, and this is just to show you the basic template for the back of the poster, which it has all the new releases on the top left, and then you'll see all the games that aren't so new on the rest of the page. So you've got new releases like Shanghai, Golvelius, Phantasy Star, games that at the time were brand new, or I think sometimes they weren't even released yet. So this is just a basic example of what most of these posters looked like for the Master System, although the one interesting aspect is the back of a poster, because they weren't all the same. This one here is actually a poster for Afterburner, so you could put a cool little poster of Afterburner on your room wall somewhere, and you know, you get some little something for free. And I think this was key for people like us that were Sega fans, where most of our friends had an NES. This actually gave us a little bit of incentive to want to buy Sega stuff, so nice little touch there. But more or less, this is what you're going to see on all the Master System posters, and it's a decent little format. It doesn't give you a ton of information, but for one little page that they crumpled up and threw into the box, not half bad. Moving on to one that I found in my copy of Penguin Land, which is an awesome little 8-bit puzzler, by the way. We've got another one here, and you're going to see pretty much the same format as the other one. There's a little bit more information on all of the actual games on the back here. You've got a little slogan at the top, pretty lame one, but a slogan nonetheless. And then you've got a little sentence or two about each game, which was actually something that was lacking in the other poster that I just showed you. And on the back of this one is actually, it's a little more kind of general, a lot of different titles that Sega was trying to pimp at the time. You've got Space Harrier, you've got a weird looking Wonder Boy guy who just doesn't look right. You've got Outrun, Fantasy Zone, Missile Command, Random Football Player, we all love that game. And on the bottom you've got your hands playing a Sega, perhaps? So, pretty much typifies the Master System itself, all in one little painting here. So, not a bad one to have. This is probably the most common one you'll find, if I had to guess. Okay, now we're moving on to the Genesis, and remember that crappy Golden Axe box that I talked about last video? Well, I found a poster in there, and with this Sega Classic box, you'd think this would be a late release. But they actually threw the old poster in there, so they must have just thrown the manual and the poster from the original Golden Axe boxes in here. I don't know what sense that makes, but it sounds good to me. And this poster is amazing. I love this thing. If I could get the creases out of this, I would frame this son of a bitch. This is actually right from the beginning of the Genesis heyday. I mean, you've got Golden Axe, Joe Montana, Last Battle, Phantasy Star, Hang On, Buster Douglas Boxing, and of course, Michael Jackson Moonwalker. Still love that game to this day. I don't care what anyone says, but just the black background, the big Genesis logo, and also just all the franchises that really represented Sega trying to make a name for themselves and get even with Nintendo. They're all represented here. So I really love this poster. And on the back, you've got a lot of different stuff, including the games just like we had for the Master System, but you've also got a little ad for the power base converter, which would let you play Master System games on your Genesis. So that was backwards compatibility before there was backwards compatibility. And you've also got the arcade stick they're pimping here as well. So you got Altered Beast inside as well when you bought the console, which again, something else that never happened. So this is a great trip down memory lane. There's even a little ad on the back for Sega Visions magazine. So for those that don't know, that was their attempt to have a Sega version of Nintendo Power. Really crappy magazine though. It wasn't really a shock that it failed. I don't even think I liked it as a kid. But this poster I liked as a kid, and right now I still think it kicks major ass. Now this one I actually found in my copy of Golden Axe 2, coincidentally enough. And as you can tell with this one, we're changing it up a little bit, getting a little bit fancier. We've got Sonic on the cover with the whole "Welcome to the Next Level" slogan, which I believe accompanied the Sega CD, if I recall correctly. And this one's a little more vibrant. It's a lot less dark than the last one that we looked at. But you've got some ads for a deluxe carrying case for your Genesis. I don't know who's taking their whole Genesis with them on a vacation, but someone apparently did. The 6-button controller, still my favorite controller of all time. The Model 2 is represented here, the Sega CD. You've also got the CDX, which, as we all know, if you have a CDX laying around, you've probably got $150 to $200 laying there. So hang on to that if you have one, but I've never actually seen one in a store. If I did, I would remember, I think. But there's a lot of ads here for Sega CD games, a lot of FMV stuff, obviously. We've got some newer Sega stuff, Genesis stuff, like Eternal Champions, Dr. Robotnik. Most interesting on the back here is the ad for the Activator, which was a plastic ring that you put on your floor and you stood inside and it read your movements, quote unquote. So if you wanted to play, a fighting game, you could just stand inside that ring and punch and kick and the game would mimic your movements exactly. Except it didn't work at all, so no one bought it. If you have one of those with all the pieces, I would love to try it out. On the back of this one is Eternal Champions, which was the Sega fighting franchise that they were trying to push as the new competitor to Street Fighter, I suppose. Which, this is actually kind of a lackluster game. The Sega CD version is really cool though. I would suggest giving it a shot. It goes for about 20 bucks. But kind of out of place, doesn't seem like a Sega classic that would be on a poster like this. But nonetheless, this is a cool little item with some different ads than the one we saw before. Now this next one is actually in my copy of Streets of Rage 2, so with the Golden Axe 2 poster that we just looked at and this one, we're getting a little further along in the Genesis lifespan. This one is actually some marketing material for the Game Gear. Slogan on the front is "Get a Grip," nice little bit of 90s marketing there. So you see a lot of the Game Gear games that were kind of the run-of-the-mill stuff that they were putting out at the time. There's some hidden gems there like Donald Duck, the Lucky Dime Caper, Shinobi, which Shinobi 1 and 2 are probably the only two Game Gear games that are must-owns in my opinion. But we've got all kinds of little accessories for the Game Gear here, some of which I own. I'm not sure if I should be proud of that or not, but there's a carrying case, a car adapter, the Master Gear converter, which I actually don't own anymore. That actually let you play Master System games on your Game Gear, which was like a dream come true for me and about 3 other people. And you also had a TV tuner, which, I mean, how awesome is that? And lastly, there's a battery pack that you can charge and put on your belt clip to take with you while you play Game Gear. Now who the hell wouldn't want to do that? On the back, there's actually a nice poster of Michael Keaton as Batman for Batman Returns, to obviously promote the video game, but even if you're not really into games, there's only a little Sega Game Gear logo down here. Other than that, it's an awesome Batman poster. Now this last one is a bit of an oddball because I actually found it in my copies of Separation Anxiety and Batman Forever. What's the big deal, you say? Well, these are actually made by Acclaim. So Acclaim actually got in on the whole promotional poster thing towards the end of this Genesis lifespan as well, apparently. And unfortunately, these don't have anything on the back. But they do have a nice little representation of Acclaim's Genesis library at the time. You've got Judge Dredd, you've got NBA Jam, and then you've got Revolution X, Batman Forever, the Justice League, which was so-so, I guess. But this is a nice little representation of what Acclaim had to offer on the system, and just a nice little thing to have in your complete in-box Acclaim games. So I hope you enjoyed this quick little look at some Sega nostalgia. I think the posters are really unique, and I'm pretty sure there's at least a few more than the ones that I found here. I wasn't going to look through all my games, and plus, I might not even have all the different variations to begin with. I think quite a few of them had different posters on the back, so if you found any ones that you didn't see here, I'd like to hear about it, but put it in the comments below if so. Let me know what you thought of this, like and share, and please subscribe if you like what you see. This is Mike, this is Snatch Gaming, and I'll see you next time. And there's one thing that made these games unique. So let's take a look down memory lane and see what Sega had to offer that might not be in these boxes. Fuck. Obviously not the greatest game in the world, but nonetheless, oh, what the hell? This is the same damn one. Oh, motherfucker.